Hi, and welcome to the construct progression module for the fine motor hand dominance construct. In this module, we will review the research background and the rationale for including this construct in the K-3 formative assessment. Then we will discuss the assessment materials for this construct, which include the progression itself with examples of the skills, as well as the assessment means form. The development of hand dominance is important for children completing everyday tasks in the classroom, such as coloring, cutting with scissors, drawing, painting, or eating. When hand dominance is just emerging, children switch objects and materials between hands to complete tasks. When children begin to establish hand dominance, or preference for using one hand over the other, they also then begin to use the non-dominant hand to assist with fine motor activities. The use of two hands together, with a preference for the dominant, results in more refined movement. For example, when a child is cutting a complex shape, using scissors with the dominant hand, they can then use the non-dominant hand to turn the paper. Another example includes pre-writing or writing skills. When a child begins to color or print letters on paper with the dominant hand, the action becomes more efficient when the non-dominant hand is used to stabilize or hold down the paper on the table. Sometimes this non-dominant hand is called the helper hand. Using the dominant and non-dominant hands together results in a coordinated, smooth motion to complete tasks. Children begin to transfer objects between hands as young as 10 months. Between 18 and 36 months, children can hold an object and manipulate it with the other hand. When children enter preschool, they use hands interchangeably to complete fine motor tasks, such as coloring or using utensils to eat. Children usually begin to show a preference for one hand around the age of 3. The establishment of hand dominance with the smooth coordination of the non-dominant hand usually occurs around 6 years old. Although it is rare, some children do not establish hand dominance until 8 years old. The development of hand dominance is associated with the maturation of a child's nervous system. When children begin to use the dominant and non-dominant hands together in a coordinated action to complete tasks, they are developing an internal awareness of the right and left sides of the body. This is important for other actions that involve spatial awareness like reading or left to right orientation on the page. Keep in mind that if a young child is consistently using one hand to complete tasks without the use of the other hand, it may be indicative of a developmental issue. Children that are observed during hand dominance activities that appear to be consistently ignoring the other hand should be referred for a fine motor evaluation. Research shows that both right and left-handed children perform equally well on tests of motor accuracy. The difficulties experienced by children that show left-hand dominance may be due to environmental factors, such as the availability of left-handed scissors. Therefore, it's important for teachers to provide children with materials that encourage hand preference for children with both right and left-handedness. Genetics play a large role in children's hand dominance. About 10 to 12% of the population is left-handed, and children with left-handed parents are more likely to be left-handed. Ambidexterity is defined as the ability to use both hands equally well to complete tasks. While some research shows that athletes may use both hands equally well to complete gross motor tasks, it's very rare for individuals to use both hands equally well. If children continue to switch between hands to complete tasks as they age, a fine motor evaluation may be needed. Let's walk through the skills in this progression one by one to help better orient you to what you'll be looking for in your classroom. Skill A on this progression is uses no established dominance for lead dominant hand. Switching still continues. This means children are switching hands when manipulating objects and don't show any preference for one hand over another. An example of this is Maria switching the crayon back and forth when coloring, or Isaiah switching his spoon between hands while eating. Skill B on this progression is uses established dominant hand. So in this skill level, a child is shown a consistent preference for one hand over the other and uses it during activities. Examples of this include Darnell using his left hand to draw, or Archer cutting with her right hand. Skill C on this progression is manipulates with dominant hand with assistance from other hand. This is when a child is still consistently showing a preference for a dominant hand and is also able to use the other hand to assist. So this can be seen in the examples like Declan, who draws with his right hand and is able to stabilize the paper with his left hand, or Manuel, who cuts with his right hand and is able to turn the paper with his left hand in order to help cut out his shape. The difference between skills B and C is the use of the non-dominant hand to assist. Both skill levels require that a child have a dominant hand they consistently use or prefer, but what makes these skills different is the use of the non-dominant hand to help assist them with tasks or when using these implements. Also, please note that children will not always use their dominant hand in every activity and setting. Some hand switching can be expected even at the highest level of this progression. If a child is using only one hand, the same hand, to complete every task and ignoring the other, further evaluation may be required. Now we're going to watch a video that demonstrates skills A and B in the progression.
1. Daniela, your turn. When it's only one left. 0. 0. Nothing. Ooh, 1. Aren't you lucky? Now, your turn. 1. Turn one of the yellows to red. 2. Turn to the red to yellow.
1.
Now you're trying to get all of your colors before he get all of his.
What you may have noticed in that video is that the boy in the green shirt in the middle of the screen rolls the dice with both hands. But during each of his turns, he manipulates the circles with his right hand, which indicates a preferred dominant hand. Using just this video as a piece of evidence, the child's learning status would be at a skill B because he demonstrated a preferred dominant hand. The boy in the blue shirt on the left of the screen used his right hand to roll the dice and his left hand to place a circle on the game board. This indicates that no dominant hand has been established, which would mean for this particular piece of evidence, his learning status would be at skill A. The assessment means form for hand dominance, seen here, includes information a teacher can use when he or she is ready to begin assessing for this construct. The top of the form includes a reminder that teachers should try and assess children in the most naturalistic environment first, i.e. with observation, before they move on to situations or tasks. There is also information here about the development of this particular construct, instructions on how and where to potentially observe students demonstrating these skills, as well as some potential materials you could use in your assessment. There is a note about how to record evidence and place children on the progression, and examples taken directly from the construct progression form. These are just a quick reference for teachers and serve as a reminder of the skills on the progression. Note that this situation may look familiar. This is the same activity that was presented for grip and manipulation. Since both of these constructs are in the domain of fine motor development, the idea is that we'd have one activity that would allow teachers to observe for both constructs. The hope is that this would streamline the observation data collection process and would allow you to observe for more than one construct at a time, resulting in fewer overall observations. Note that the only difference here is that if a teacher is only observing for hand dominance, he or she is allowed to use adaptive scissors. These types of scissors should not be used in activities used to observe for grip and manipulation because they don't allow a teacher to observe children's grip in the scissor loops. This form also includes a suggested group size, instructions for the teacher on how to do the activity, a list of materials, and reminders that teachers can use during the activity. Similar to the observation examples on the first page of the assessment means form, these are examples created for the situation that align with each step of the progression. These are meant to support your ability to assign a learning status when implementing the situation in your classroom. We cover how teachers can document their evidence for each construct progression on documentation forms and in the platform in a separate module. We do want to point out that we have developed watch fors for each construct, which are brief reminders and keywords that help differentiate the skill levels on the progression. These can be found on the documentation forms as shown here, and on the platform as shown here. Just to recap, hand dominance is a construct in the physical motor domain, and the establishment of hand dominance with the smooth coordination or assistance from the non-dominant hand usually occurs in children around 6 years of age. Although it is rare, some children do not establish hand dominance until 8 years old. Hand dominance consists of 3 skills or steps in the progression, and it has an associated situation that was created for it. In fact, it's the same situation that was created for grip and manipulation so that teachers can streamline their data collection effort. Thank you for your time today. We hope you learned something about hand dominance.